I want to tell you guys about a past experience just called Semester at the Sea. At Sea. We'll shorten it to SAS. So I've always wanted to travel, but I've heard it's kind of hard. It's always fascinated me to get into the program, but I thought I would go ahead and apply, and I filled out form after form after form after form, and finally got everything together. I heard it was expensive, but I didn't really start worrying about it because I hadn't been accepted yet, so I figured, why don't I go ahead and try and figure it out. The thought of it was always on my mind, and I finally got the letter back, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm accepted, but I have all these things to worry about, an interpreter, money, myself. I didn't know even where to start. So I collected my thoughts, started with the interpreter. So I went to the office and I said, hey, I'm deaf. I'm going to need an interpreter. And they said, oh, I'm sorry about that. We don't provide interpreters. Here's your money back. And I was like, what? No interpreter? But I wasn't giving up. So I went ahead and contacted the ADA. And I said, hey, do you think you would provide an interpreter? And they're like, you know what? I don't know. So they researched it a little bit more, and they found out that they're not responsible, and they also didn't have enough money for that. So I kept looking for money for a grant for my interpreter for the semester at the sea. So I looked and looked and looked, and I couldn't find anything. And the date was getting closer, so I went ahead and just came to terms with I wasn't going to have an interpreter. It was about $15,000, and I didn't know how I was going to get that money. So I heard they offered a scholarship. So I went ahead and applied for it, and they actually sent me money back. So that was a relief. I also applied for a loan, and I worked day in and day out, all night long, it seemed like. I knew I really wanted to go on this trip. So the working didn't bother me because I wanted this experience. So I worked and worked. I was stubborn. I hadn't told my parents yet, and I hadn't gotten any money from them. I didn't tell them until May, the May before. And we were leaving for August, and I had kept it a secret for a whole year. So I finally sat down with Mom and Dad and said, hey, I want to let you know I'm going to be leaving school for a year. And they looked at me like, what? I said, I'm going to be traveling. And they were like, I don't understand. How? What? Why? And so I explained in depth the semester at sea. And they were excited yet nervous at the same time. And, I'm their only daughter, so I understand that things are hard and whatnot, but I finally got their approval. I had the money ready. I was ready to go, but I was a little nervous as well. I'm the only deaf person on the ship. So classes that we have to take, there were 4 of them, okay? We had to take philosophy, organizational behavior. I took women in religion, and also I took a class that everyone has to take, which is called CORE. I took all 4 of those classes, and they were really difficult because they were big lecture classes and lots of information to take in. So I contacted all the professors before August, and I contacted them, and one got back to me, the second one got back to me, but I didn't hear anything from the other 2, which is fine. I ordered some books and started reading them. They were really complex books. Different cultures, it's the different world. I learned so much about it. August kept getting closer and closer and closer, and I realized I don't want to leave for a semester and leave my friends. That's 100 days. And that's going to be hard. But, I was ready. I needed to go. It had been a rough experience up till then. I knew it would teach me a lot. We went to Japan, China, Vietnam, Taiwan, Kenya, and South Africa, Brazil, and last but not least, we went to Cuba. Those are the countries that we went to. It was awesome. We traveled all over. I can't do enough explaining to tell you how awesome it was. So many pictures, so many videos, taking everything in. You know, we were there for 15 hours and sight saw, but that wasn't enough. Yeah, I was the only one that was deaf, and the rest were hearing, but that didn't bother me. At times it was a struggle because people didn't know how to communicate with me, but the experience itself was worth it. I'd go through it again any day. We got to visit a few deaf schools, one in Cuba, one in Vietnam, and one in Thailand. The deaf schools, I enjoyed that so much. It was so cool to see the kids there and the kids here and how they behave so different, or so similar to the ones here. You know, their personalities, their behaviors. I am still in contact with some of them. We send letters, we're pen pals. And it's interesting that they know English. They know a little bit of ASL, more BSL. In Thailand they use BSL, which I was shocked. In Vietnam they use SAL. They know Spanish, but I didn't know any Spanish, so communicating there was hard. But I seriously enjoyed this. It was worth the 100 days. After the 100 days were done, coming back to the States, I was looking forward to get back to America because I was exhausted. I do want to go back and travel freely where there's no responsibilities or anything. But now, you know, I know the process. I will never forget that time that I had there.